So at the end of the match, Yoko positions himself for the Banzai drop. He gets up there, Brett's down, he's defeated. All of a sudden, Yoko loses his balance and then he falls off the ropes.
This was the match of the night for me, obviously. So much stuff they did was groundbreaking for WWE for sure.
And they were supposed to face the 1-2-3 Kid, Thurman Sparky Plug, Tatanka, and the Smoking Guns. Bob Holly wrote in his autobiography, The Hardcore Truth, that the timekeeper backstage repeatedly told the referee over his earpiece to end the ladder match, but Michaels Ramon ignored them, and they kept wrestling until the officials were forced to cancel the tag match.
That sounds like one of the best calls in wrestling history then. There you go. On to our retro review. I didn't know what to, I can't follow that up.
All right. We are back at Madison Square Garden, 10 years from WrestleMania 1, and this is WrestleMania 10. They play a brief highlight package from WrestleMania 1. In fact, they did little highlights through all the WrestleManias, which was nice. Although you can tell they're clearly in the primitive days of their video packages.
Yep, they're starting to put it together. I'm just excited for the day we get to have a full screen pay-per-view. Like not with the black bars on the side.
Yeah. So we start WrestleMania 10 with no voiceover whatsoever. Instead, we get generic WWF music and pictures of Hart, Luger, and Yokozuna. And then Vince McMahon is in the ring to welcome us, and he brings out Little Richard. And Little Richard sings America the Beautiful. And I'm in tears because Little Richard, to me, looks like Mark Merrow in blackface, especially when they did close-ups and he's singing. Although he did the best job of America the Beautiful so far.
He did do a pretty good job. You know, it's Little Richard, so he was still throwing his,
Yeah, I need to get more familiar with his catalog.
like he was like, America, ah! It was first just like a acapella, America the Beautiful. And then the choir pops up out of nowhere. Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, I like the choir. So then they cut back to Vince, who introduces Jerry the King Lawler. And Lawler wants to know if Little Richard's voice was real or if his underwear was too tight. And then Lawler says the reason he's here is to watch the WWF champion Yokozuna make history. And that's when Vince explains that Yokozuna and Luger will face each other, and then Bret Hart will face the winner at the main event. But Bret is also in the first match. And we get Owen Hart versus Bret Hart. And we're taken back in time as to how these brothers came face to face tonight. And they show a clip of Survivor Series. Bret is on the apron. He's facing the fans. Owen's in the ring with Shawn Michaels. Owen hits the ropes and inadvertently knocks Bret into the guardrail. And then Michaels gets a roll up on Owen. And then they cut to the end of the match. And I guess Bret won Survivor Series. I don't know. They weren't too clear on that. But Owen's pissed off and he kind of shoves Bret and they start jaw jacking. And then they play.
The Harts won.
Okay.
Owen Hart was the only person who got eliminated, so he was upset.
Oh, okay.
I just remember that Survivor Series.
Gotcha. So then they play an interview with Owen. And Owen says he's tired of being in Bret's shadow. And he challenges him to a one-on-one match. And then Bret, he's given his chance to answer the challenge. He says he wants to live up to being the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. But under no circumstances will he ever step in the ring with his own flesh and blood. Then they play a clip of WWF Superstars. And Bret and Owen appear to have resolved their issues, and they're teaming up. Bret says he doesn't want to find out who the better wrestler is between him and Owen, and they just want to focus that energy onto something more productive. And he says that he and Owen, they're taking out their frustrations on the Quebecers, and they are going to win the tag team titles. Then they cut to the end of the match. The Quebecers miss their finishing move, and then Bret's knees fucked up. Owen is desperately reaching for a tag. I don't know what happens after the match because they just kind of flash to Owen screaming at Bret, and then he just kicks him in the knee. And then he screams at the fans. And then they play highlights of Owen talking shit a week before WrestleMania. And he says that just because you're older doesn't make you better. I'm kicking your ass at WrestleMania 10.
Bret accepted at some point.
It was a nice little build-up. I like that Owen wants to fight him. And it's like, no, I'm not wrestling my brother. And clearly Owen pushed the issue.
Yeah, and I do remember that build. I like that they're now doing the recaps.
WrestleMania finally kicks off with the weakest pyro ever. Owen comes out, he's wearing Bret Hart's sunglasses, and then he tears him up when he gets to the ring. And then Bret comes out, and Vince says it's the first time two brothers have ever started a match at WrestleMania. And this was a really good match. Owen and Bret built the story where they were both evenly matched, but Bret was, just slightly better. Anytime Owen had an advantage, he would just stop and just start celebrating. They showed that they were equal, but Brett seemed to get the advantage on the wrestling aspect. So then Owen had to take his advantage by pulling hair and using elbows. There's one point where Owen says he's had enough and goes to leave, and then Brett drags him back to finish the wrestling lesson. There was a point where they collide. Everything kind of stops, like even the announcers, like they expected Owen to just tend to his brother and make sure he's okay, but no. Owen just beats the shit out of Brett, kicks him out of the ring. Brett pretty much wrestles on instinct at that point. He takes an ass whooping, but he still manages to get Owen in a roll up or a small package. Owen shows his frustration. At one point, he hits a tombstone on Brett. I bet that pisses Steve Austin off every time he watches this match. Hell, kid, why couldn't you hit me with a tombstone?
I did think he was going for that inverted pile driver when he switched him over like that. I was like, uh-oh. But, he only did that move a couple times. Maybe he did it more at house shows, but I remember him doing it like twice, hurting each person. So it was like the last time they did it.
There you go. Like I said, this was a really good match. There's a lot of false finishes, counters, lots of wrestling. And Owen whips Brett into the corner. Brett gets on Owen's shoulder and he goes to roll him up for a victory roll up. But Owen catches him and he pins him 1, 2, 3. So it's really good. Brett's out wrestling him. They're both, having a good wrestling match, and Owen just catches him. He wins him clean.
He sure did. It was an excellent match, as you would expect out of those two. Seeing as they trained in the Heart Dungeon, you saw the little graphics at the beginning. There were still pictures. There weren't really, well, there was videos too, but Stu Hart training, both of them.
Yeah. I can't remember if that was the Yokozuna match or this match, but yeah, they did play. It showed that Stu Hart training pan out.
Yeah, and I like that Owen Hart pretty much, at least for the first part of it, he controlled most of the match.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was a really good showing for him. And then, yeah, he got the one-up on Bret Hart, which was also a good touch.
Yeah, now, you saw the look on Bret's face like, motherfucker got me.
Now, why Bret Hart loses this match and then wins later is like the ultimate 50-50 booking. Like, what are we doing
it's to set up a feud.
And they did feud.
Yeah. It makes sense. He already had a match set up with Yokozuna. Owen Hart challenged him. Bret said, why not? He managed to lose. You can say, yeah, my brother beat me, but I was more focused on that 500-pound monster. And then now Owen can say, I beat the champ, which I'm sure he did.
Yeah, you can tell by the end of the night. Not to skip ahead, but good opening match.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. That was probably the match of the night for me.
Oh, you know what mine was.
Yeah. So Bret's stunned after Owen proved that he's the better Hart tonight. And then after the match, Owen says he's now the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. And he should get the recognition he deserves. And Owen says that Bret doesn't have a chance in hell of beating Yokozuna or Luger tonight. Hopefully Owen wiped whatever that shit was on his mouth.
Not during that segment.
God. He left the ring with it on.
Did the whole interview with
and not one person said, hey, not the camera people, not the person with the microphone.
I know. He wasn't immediately on camera afterwards. They had time to say, hey, wipe your mouth.
Exactly. Cy Perling introduces Howard Finkel. He has a hair piece on now, and he announces Bam Bam Bigelow and Luna Vachon, who face Doink and Dink the Clowns. Cy Perling was the Hair Club for Men founder, I guess.
Yeah, they got him a piece.
It's worth noting that this version of Doink is Ray Apollo, not Matt Bourne.
Well, I already said the other one was better.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Bam Bam beats Doink with a diving headbutt. I guess it was funny watching Luna beat up Dink, especially when she just kicked the shit out of the little fucker when he was running circles around her. I thought this was sad considering Bret and Owen preceded this match, and Bam Bam Bigelow will be main eventing next year's WrestleMania.
Really?
Yep.
Is that the Lawrence Taylor one?
Yep.
Okay.
See, so there's precedent for shitty main events for WrestleMania.
That was the main event?
Yep.
Golly.
Yep.
Oh, look forward
to... but Lawrence Taylor brings in so many people.
I don't think he did.
Lawrence Taylor's a star.
Okay. Imagine you got Lawrence Taylor versus
Bam Bam
Hulk
Bigelow.
Hogan. Not Bam Bam. He's not the star. Talking about Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan's retired.
Ultimate Warrior.
Ultimate Warrior. I think he's
well, that's the problem. They didn't have a guy.
They're Bret Hart.
But he wasn't a guy. Of course, they were pushing him hard. He was the face of the company, but he wasn't going to take WWE to the heights that they needed to go to. As a matter of fact, he almost ran him out of business. And I'm a Bret Hart fan, by the way.
So
I
don't know. I'm not a numbers guy, so I can't argue with that.
Let me talk about this stupid Doink match. The other Doink was better. That's number one. Number two, there was a lot of hokiness.
No.
Especially with Dink running in circles and them like diving and missing him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it. I was in the same camp as Jerry the King Lawler. I was hoping there was a moment where Bam Bam got his hands on Dink. Maybe hit him with like the headbutt.
Well, he came close because Dink got him Bigelow's face after the match. And then Luna whoops on Dink again. And then Luna and Bam Bam go for a double splash. And I'm not sure if Dink was supposed to move entirely out of the way, but Luna landed right on his tiny little back. And then Luna like pushed his little midget ass aside. And then she pretended to be hurt. So I don't know.
Yeah. She landed right on him and then she pretended to be hurt. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the fuck. I was confused.
There was a funny moment in this though. Bam Bam caught Dink under the ring. Like he's trying to get out of the ring. And Bam Bam caught him and he just like had him gripped by the hair. And the referee's trying to get him off. It was funny. It's like, I got you now.
Yeah, that was just an abomination.
Yeah.
WrestleMania. The fact they were talking about how it's 10 years of WrestleMania and we're back at Madison Square Garden and how great it is, and this is what they have to show for it. It's sad.
Yeah, it was.
So then they cut to a fake Bill Clinton, and that's all I'm going to say. And I will avoid mentioning any future appearances or segments he may have. So if you want to comment, go ahead and get it out of the way now.
I didn't know he was a fake, but there you go.
Yeah, that was not Bill Clinton.
Could have fooled me. Or you did fool me.
You can tell with the it was over exaggerated. And first of all, the president of the United States is not going to be a goddamn WrestleMania. The future president will be, not the current.
I did think they overdid it with the whole thing. And then looking at him, I couldn't think about anything other than Monica Lewinsky.
Define sex.
Yeah, depends on what
it?
is.
Can you define it a little slower? So Macho Man Randy Savage versus Crush in a Falls Count Anywhere match. And Savage doesn't wait for Crush to get to the ring, but ends up getting his ass kicked anyway.
Sure did.
Then they reveal that after the fall that Savage took within 30 seconds of him attacking Crush, that he has 60 seconds to get back into the ring, which I have never heard before. A Falls Count Anywhere match, you pin them outside the ring, and then they have 60 seconds to get back into the ring?
Yeah, it was weird. Maybe this was like the first iteration of it. I heard Falls Count Anywhere, and then Macho Man gets pinned in like 10 seconds. And then they're like, now he has 60 seconds to get back in the ring. Like, what?
Yeah.
Where my confusion was, He Who Shall Not Be Named did say that once they make a pinfall, they have 60 seconds to get back in the ring. So I thought he meant whoever made the pin has 60 seconds to get in the ring. This effectively turned it in. Yeah, it effectively turned it into a hybrid Falls Count Anywhere and Last Man Standing match.
Which is fine. It's just not, I don't know. It doesn't seem like a Falls Count Anywhere match if they got to get back in the ring.
Oh, and for some reason they had to pin him outside the ring.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, this is Savage's last WWF televised match. So I thought, like, damn, they did him in 30 seconds like that? Shit.
Yeah, I remember you saying that, and I was like, oh, well, like, that's why.
So Savage gets to the ring despite Fuji attacking him with a flag. He tries to get in the ring. Fuji hits him with the flag, and then he falls. And then he starts getting back in at 8. I don't know why Fuji didn't hit him again, but he gets back in. Savage kicks Crush's ass, and he pins him on the outside. Crush beats the count only after Fuji splashes water in his face. And then they fight to the back, and Savage gets a pin, and he ties up Crush to this harness thing that just so happened to be positioned right then and there and sectioned off. And then Crush fell to the ground because Savage can't tie a knot for shit. And
they did say he was a 300-pound person.
Yeah, but he didn't even try to tie a knot. And obviously, Crush doesn't beat the count, and Savage goes back to the ring to beat Fuji's ass, and Savage celebrates through the crowd. And yeah, this was our send-off for Macho Man.
Another weird match.
Yeah. I don't know why you would just have a ladder and a pulley system just sitting there. There's no natural way for that to be there.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm talking about the whole, you got 60 seconds to get back in once you're pinned. Like, there was a moment where Macho Man drops the elbow and then kicks him out of the ring to pin him and then gets back in the ring. A little bit weird there. I was okay with the harness thing. I don't nitpick that part, but my nitpick was there.
Yeah, it was weird stipulation. Maybe, like you said, it was a newer concept for them. I don't know. I didn't like the 60-second rule.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the only way they could figure out how to kind of reset, but I don't know. Yeah, it's weird. So we have Lilani Kai versus Alundra Blaze for the women's championship. And Blaze gets really big pyro, making her look like a huge deal and making me wonder why they used the little fiddly pyro when the whole thing started. And I appreciate that the women of this area worked like the dudes did. They worked like smaller men. And Kai worked like the giant, and Alondra Blaze was the smaller baby face. And she happened to win with a German suplex out of nowhere. I thought Medusa was an easier character to get behind with the whole America, and she looked prettier.
Well, she had some enhancements at that point.
True.
She had some help.
I don't know. That outfit didn't do her any favors.
Yeah, I could see that. Just a solid outfit.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful suplex, though.
Oh, yeah. She
did have one of the better German suplexes.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I didn't think this was that bad of a match, even though Lawler said he wasn't impressed.
Well, yeah, because he was working heel. So he said he wasn't impressed with Blaze, and then he kept talking about how attractive the other chick was.
Kai.
Yeah. It's like, look how attractive she is.
Who? Alondra Blaze? No. Alani Kai.
Yeah.
Ha ha!
He was making some references that I didn't get. Like, he said Alondra Blaze asked him for a refill and he blew in her ear or something. I didn't get it. I didn't get the refill part. I don't know. I just went over my head.
Yeah, fair enough. So Burt Reynolds tells Shawn Michaels to shave his chest and the back, and they sort of fight over Rhonda Shear, but she only has eyes for Burt. And then Rhonda and Burt talk about the fan fest thing that was going on at the time, and I guess he fucks her right there on the floor.
Yeah, she was ready, and she kept saying, "Up all night? You're gonna keep me up all night?" Yes, I will.
Yeah. Then he just did her on the floor because it's Burt Reynolds, and you don't give a fuck. It's probably why his hand was hurt. He was fisting her so hard.
It's okay. Sit there and watch.
Okay, so men on a mission versus the Quebecers. It's for the tag team titles. And Men on a Mission treat us to a musical number. Johnny Polo is the manager of the Quebecers. You may know him as Raven from ECW/TNA/ I think he was in WWE for a while.
Was he part of the Radicals?
I don't know.
He wasn't part of the Radicals, but he was in WWE, yeah.
I don't know about this match, man. I like the double team move the Quebecers did, where they did the little back body drops. The one would just like run, and the other one would just back body drop him.
Oh, yeah.
Without ever looking.
Even outside the ring.
And then they made a big deal when they both suplexed Mabel, which I guess they should. And Mabel was surprisingly athletic at this point. I remember him wearing mascara and barely moving, so that's something to look forward to. Men on a Mission won by countout after Mo pushed Mabel onto one of the Quebecers outside the ring. And the Men on a Mission celebrate with the tag belts afterwards.
Oddly enough, I don't remember this team at all.
Men on a Mission?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I remember Mabel. I don't remember the other two.
I can't remember if it's King Mo. It's Mo and Mabel.
Yeah, I was like, why don't I remember this team?
I just want to know why Mo looks like an 80-year-old man. He looks like Mabel's grandpa.
Speaking of which, Raven looked old. Johnny Polo, if you will. I was like, wow, he looked old back then. And this is before his career really gets started.
It's weird seeing him not as Raven.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so we have Yokozuna versus Lex Luger in our first WWF Championship match. And it is announced that Mr. Perfect is the special guest referee. And he is announced by Donnie Wahlberg, who is in his douchiest form tonight. And it turns out there's a special guest referee for each match, and both competitors agreed upon the guest referees beforehand.
Yeah, they each got to pick a guest referee.
James E. Cornette is Yoko's American mouthpiece, which I can't think of a better mouthpiece to have if you're an American or Japanese. Luger's presentation is a whole hell of a lot different than in the last WrestleMania, where he's the narcissist.
Yep, he's all American now.
He's very American. I just like Luger, I think. Just the way he carries himself. Like, Luger wasn't hesitant at all. He just went right at Yoko. Where it seems like, Yoko's the monster, where you would kind of hesitate a little bit and pick your spots. Not Luger. He just went right for it. I noticed Yoko's offense kind of revolved with Luger just running at him, as opposed to the other way around.
Of course.
Work smarter, not harder. Luger did a tease early on where he tried to slam Yoko, but he failed. And Yoko exposed the turnbuckle at some point in the match early on. And the longer the match went on, the more concerned I became for Yoko's well-being because he started huffing and puffing and sweating his ass off. I'm sure his face would have been red if his pigment would allow it. And they did a really long nerve hold spot twice.
That would be their resting.
Yes.
I said, you got these two big meaty men. Of course they're going to have this hold. But boy, did they hold it there.
Yes, they did. Well, they held it for a long time, and then like they did something, and then he did it again.
Yeah, it's like, I still need... Please, give me more time.
I need to breathe, brother.
Yeah, give me more time, please.
So Yoko ends up getting slammed in the exposed turnbuckle, and Luger finally hits Yoko with his forearm. And then Cornette and Fuji try to interfere, but Luger kicks their ass. And then Fuji looks sad. Luger just gives him like the lightest elbow, and Fuji just slowly falls. And Luger goes to cover Yoko, and Perfect. He looks at Luger covering Yoko, and then he thinks it's the perfect time to get Cornette out of the ring. Luger gets up and he asks Perfect like what his fucking deal is. And then Luger covers Yoko again. Perfect, he's looking this whole time at Luger. Then he goes and he checks on Fuji. He did this a couple times. There's one part he actually walked past Luger to get to either Jim Cornette or Fuji. So then Luger he gets up and he ends up shoving Perfect. Perfect, he has this weird little look on his face and he grabs his shirt. He slowly walks to the other side of the ring and he disqualifies Luger. And he leaves the ring. And Luger's beside himself. You hear the crowd start chanting bullshit. Perfect, he's interviewed later and he says he called the match right down the middle. And Luger put his hands on the official and he had to disqualify him. And Luger comes back, he starts yelling, he goes, "Give me a good reason." Perfect says, "I'll give you 2. You shouldn't toss managers in the ring and you shouldn't put your hands on the official. You need to deal with this loss." Then they start shouting some more. And then later they talk to Yoko and Cornette in the locker room after the match. Whoever's interviewing, he said something about Yoko being on the mat after the match was over. And Cornette says it doesn't matter if Yoko was the one laying on the mat, he's still the one with the belt. Luger thought he had the match won, but he who makes kittens puts snakes in the grass. And Mr. Perfect was the best ref of all time, and he was agreed on by both parties. Cornette says to Brett that it's no longer a question of Hart winning the match, but if he can walk out of the main event in one piece. And Brett's going to have the loss of Owen and his fucked up knee on his mind. And Yoko's awake in the land of giants.
I don't know. It was good for what it was. Obviously, them being such big guys, they aren't going to be doing all the flips and flops, so
right.
Expected that. I did think the ending, though, was... I don't know if it was bullshit, but it was justified because if you look back, Luger did pull the managers into the ring, so, Mr. Perfect, being the referee, he had to check on him while the pin was happening. I don't know if that was the best time to do it, but you got to have concern for the managers. They didn't come in the ring. They got pulled in.
I don't know what's happened since, but they also have an issue from WrestleMania 9.
Yeah.
I wish they would have played on the fact that both competitors lost to the special guest referee at a WrestleMania.
Yeah, it would have been good to mention.
I just like how they fought like Godzilla and King Kong. At least at first, they got tired. They had to sleep.
And then they had to sit in that rest hold forever.
But yeah, it was good for what it was.
I thought Luger was going to win that match too, back when I watched it the initial time.
Yeah.
He didn't.
No.
And I guess there's probably some kind of thing between him and Perfect now.
I believe so, yeah. Or at least until Perfect leaves.
There you go.
So Atom Bomb and Earthquake is next. And before the match, Harvey Whippleman tears into Howard Finkel. Says Finkel is ugly, stupid, big-eared. He's monkey-faced. He's bald-headed. He's a New York piece of garbage. Rips Finkel's suit. Finkel gets mad. And he shoves Whippleman to the mat. And then Atom Bomb comes out and snatches up Finkel. That's so sad. Finkel didn't even come up to his belly button. And Earthquake comes out to save Finkel. And Earthquake hits 3 moves. He gets the 1, 2, 3. And he almost set a WrestleMania win record. And if he didn't walk around during his little power slam, he probably would have got it. Not much to say about that.
Yeah, not much to say about that. It was over in a couple seconds, so not too much to say there.
Yep. All right. Well, after that, we have Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon. And this is for the true Intercontinental Championship. And the only way to win this match is to ascend the ladder and retrieve both Intercontinental titles. And in this match, Diesel makes his WrestleMania debut. And I like when Razor came out, he deliberately walked under the ladder. It's a nice little touch.
Yeah, it was always one of those moments you remember. Especially like Shawn Michaels walking around the ladder and then he comes out and he walks under it.
So Diesel's immediately barred from ringside after decking Razor. So thanks for coming. I enjoy when heels are good enough to beat the faces on their own. Just their enforcers or bodyguards or just insurance policy. And that's what Sean was, because he didn't seem to miss a beat when Diesel was barred. And of course, being the smaller of the two, he was the one to use the ladder as the weapon more. He was very vicious with it too. He beat the fuck out of Razor with the ladder. And Razor, like, he tried to,
yes, he was.
for the time, I'm sure that all of that was innovative.
I mean, as far as I know, this is probably like the first one-on-one ladder match we've seen, especially at WrestleMania. I know this is the first one.
At least in the WWF.
Yeah.
I think Brett took credit for the ladder match. I can't remember if he said he did it in Stampede Wrestling or not. But yeah, Sean was vicious. Razor tried to play by the rules, but then he just kind of got fed up and he started using the ladder too. Yeah, it was a good match. Like I said, it was insane shit for the time. They fight on top of the ladder at one point, and Razor slams Michaels, and the ladder just collapses under both of their weight. That was kind of scary.
Yeah, they didn't even have a backup ladder as they do now. It was like one ladder, and that was straight through.
That's probably why they have 100 ladders now, yeah. Michaels uses a super kick as a setup for a pile driver. And McMahon and Lawler, they both said that he was going for a Razor's Edge. Oh, he's setting up for a Razor's Edge. Oh, pile driver.
It's because he did the thing, the
I
Razor.
Know, I get it. But, well, he did the finisher. He didn't do the Razor's Edge. He has to actually put his arms up.
Yeah, he did the pose, the thumb pose. He did the thumbs and then the arms out thing. So you would think that he was going for a Razor's Edge.
Michaels goes up to the ladder after positioning it over Razor's fallen body. As Sean is ascending, Razor gets up and he pushes the ladder with Sean on it onto the ropes. Sean gets his legs caught up into the ropes, and Razor's able to retrieve both belts. And I thought Lawler was actually going to help Sean.
Oh yeah, because he's like, "Can I help?"
But yeah, it's a really good match.
This was the match of the night for me, obviously. So much stuff they did was groundbreaking for WWE for sure. You can tell the crowd was in for a riot as soon as Razor was trying to pull the ladder in the ring, and then Shawn Michaels runs and does the baseball slide drop kick to it and hits him in the sternum.
Oh, yeah.
At that point, you knew, okay, this is going to be brutal.
Or when they just kept tossing the ladder at each other.
Yeah, there was one point where Razor's like holding on to the ropes, and Shawn Michaels just throws the ladder at him. And you can see that the ladder didn't land flat, like it tilted, so the outside part of the ladder hit him right in the back. I was like, golly. But yeah, there's so much innovation there and sets the tone for wrestlers to come, I guess.
The Owen and Brett match for me was the match of the night because, well, one, the wrestling was better, and two, I think the story was a little bit better. The story they told.
Yeah.
But this was a banger of a match, too. I'm not taking anything away from this.
Yep, both good matches.
So up next, a 10-man tag team match was supposed to take place, and it was actually canceled due to time constraints. The kayfabe reason is that IRS, the Head Shrinkers, Rick Martel, and JEFF, JARRETT couldn't agree on who would be team captain. And they were supposed to face the 1-2-3 Kid, Thurman Sparky Plug, Tatanka, and the Smoking Guns. Bob Holly wrote in his autobiography, The Hardcore Truth, that the timekeeper backstage repeatedly told the referee over his earpiece to end the ladder match, but Michaels and Ramon ignored them, and they kept wrestling until the officials were forced to cancel the tag match.
That sounds like one of the best calls in wrestling history, then.
Yeah. Fuck your tag match.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Oh, yeah, they got to end that match.
Right.
What are we even talking about here?
Do you not see what's going on right now?
But it's weird that they had a time constraint, especially since they also had the squash with Earthquake and Atom Bomb.
That is weird. I didn't think about that.
So basically 2 matches cut, and they still didn't have time.
Yeah, that means something else went long. I don't know what. Maybe Owen and Brett. Yeah, Doink and Dink. Those fuckers.
They overran their time.
Well, that brings us to Yokozuna versus Bret Hart. And this is our main event of the evening, and this is for the WWF Championship. And they play a cool little video package before the match. And I like the transition between Bret and Yoko's videos where the music did the record skip and went to a different song. I liked it. Burt Reynolds and some other bimbo from 90210 are the celebrities for this match. Reynolds brings out Rowdy Roddy Piper as the special guest referee. And Piper was the greatest referee ever. And he got the fans to cheer for him after he decked Cornette. I think he was the only one that got a cheer. They weren't cheering Bret or Yoko. I know that. Maybe after the match. But he wasn't messing around. He's like, "You got 5. 1, 2, 3, 4."
Yeah, this is pretty fast counting.
He wanted to go home. And yeah, I wish they would have played that Piper lost to Bret at WrestleMania, so it would have tied in more to what, Perfect did. It made sense that Perfect would fuck over Luger, but they didn't make any indication that Luger could have gone that way.
Yeah.
So now that they set that precedent, they could have, oh, wait a minute. The last match we saw Roddy Piper in was against Bret Hart. He lost.
I remembered it, though.
So Yoko basically, he whips Bret's ass the whole match. I mean, Bret makes a few comeback attempts, but it's pretty much all Yoko. I did think the bulldog that Bret hit was the end, but Yoko kicked out just at the last second. So at the end of the match, Yoko positions himself for the Banzai drop. He gets up there. Bret's down. He's defeated. All of a sudden, Yoko loses his balance and then he falls off the ropes. And then Bret slithers over and gets the 1, 2, 3 because the 1 foot drop was too much for him. Weak sauce. Way too many fluky finishes in this pay-per-view.
They could have played up why he fell. Maybe there was something slippery or
maybe
they could have had an angle where something happened prior to that.
Or Bret could have chopped him in the knee or something. So he could have been working on the sharpshooter. He's 500 pounds. Bret's been working on that knee. He gets up on that top rope. He loses his balance. Boom. Makes more sense than the dude that's been doing this fucking sit down move over and over and over again. Just automatically loses his balance out of nowhere. Was there strong gust of wind at Madison Square Garden?
I guess so. And yeah, he just falls from the second rope.
Yeah.
And that's enough to get him pinned.
Bret slammed his face in the mat early. He bulldogged him.
Now, to his credit, he did get up right after.
Is that to his credit?
I don't know. I'm trying to give him something here. I don't know why they come up with that finish of all things.
It was bad. I did like the one where the turnbuckle broke. I thought that was a better finish.
Yeah, and I thought that happened at this WrestleMania, but apparently not. He just fell.
No, maybe they learned their lesson.
World champion fell down, and that was enough for him.
Yeah, your monster just fell.
Yeah. His kryptonite is you just got to make him fall down. If he falls down, you can beat him.
But only for 3 seconds is when he's out. Then he gets up and he chases off Piper.
That did look like a scary sight, though, him chasing Piper and running.
Just a bit.
Get out of the way there.
That's why I couldn't be a cameraman, because if I happened to see that, I would kind of shake the camera a little bit because I'm a dick. So finally, Bret gets to celebrate as champion. Then Luger comes out and they have a little brief stare down. Then they shake hands and hug. Then a bunch of other wrestlers come out to congratulate Bret. Burt Reynolds, too. And then the other celebrities come out for no reason. And then Burt and Rhonda Shear Bimbo, they have this weird little pose off thing, not paying attention to Bret Hart at all. Burt Reynolds, I don't think gave a fuck about wrestling. Yeah, he just wanted to bang Rhonda. And then Hart hoisted on Luger and Razor's shoulders. And Owen comes out and he's staring daggers at Bret. And Macho Man and some of the other wrestlers, they're inviting Owen to share the moment with Bret. And Owen's not having any of it. So then they just start mocking him. We're pointing to an obvious direction for the new champion.
Yeah, we go off the air with Owen Hart staring down his brother, who is now champion, who he beat earlier in the night.
So yeah, weird WrestleMania. I think the only saving grace was Owen and Bret and Shawn and Razor. Probably could have done without the rest.
Yeah, it was pretty hokey, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
But we got the ladder match and the Owen and Bret match, so not all too bad.
It's kind of like one of them CDs that you get where you only get for one song.
Yeah. And not the single, just like...
yeah, the whole CD.
Yeah, you get the whole CD because you got that one song on it. It's pretty much how I picked most of my CDs. Oh, it's got that song on it. That's one.
Right.
And then, yeah, you listen to the rest of the track and it's like garbage.
Well, that was WrestleMania 10. And after WrestleMania 10, Men on a Mission continued to challenge the Quebecers for the tag team belts. And Men on a Mission eventually win the titles. And it's said to have been an unplanned title change because Mabel accidentally fell on Pierre to get the pinfall. And the title reign only lasted like 2 days. And the Quebecers won the titles back in a rematch. And Luger and Perfect, they were scheduled to face each other in a series of matches. And then Perfect was replaced by Crush. And Perfect didn't appear again in the WWF until Survivor Series 95. And after the Shawn Michaels and Razor match. Diesel began to challenge Razor for the Intercontinental title, and Michaels helped Diesel win the IC belt. It helped Diesel get into the WWF Championship scene, and he becomes a Triple Crown title guy.
Good for him. I remember he beats Bob Backlund pretty quick.
Yes, and he sold the powerbomb and crawled to the back.
It's good for him.
Yeah, Backlund would do that too. Love me some Backlund.
Oh, by the way, one thing I didn't point out as you're talking about the main event, Bret Hart, he was still selling the injury from Owen Hart.
Oh, yeah, I did.
When he came out for
that.
the next match. That's psychology right there.
It is.
Like, he came out limping still.
Even when he got in the ring, he was favoring the hurt knee. It was great. Yeah, you're right. Thanks for pointing that out. Now, I know you're wondering about this. The 10-man tag did take place on Monday Night Raw, and IRS pinned 1-2-3 Kid to win the match.
There you go.
Sleep well tonight.
They got their moment.
They did. Bret and Owen continued their feud all throughout 94. At the King of the Ring, Jim Neidhart became involved, helping Owen win the tournament. During the coronation, Owen announced that he wanted to be referred to as the King of Hearts. At SummerSlam, Bret successfully defended his title against Owen in a steel cage match, and he was attacked by Neidhart after, and that prompted the British Bulldog to get involved on Bret's side. And at Survivor Series, the storyline saw Owen partially responsible for costing Bret the WWF Championship. Bret faced Bob Backlund. It was the throw in the towel match, and Owen caused, I think it was his mom or something. Like, he was just like, "Oh, look at Bret. You gotta throw in the towel." And he kind of made her throw in the towel.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he was concerned.
Yeah.
Because Bret Hart was in that chicken wing forever. There's no end in sight for it. If I remember, Backlund had the legs hooked and everything.
Yeah.
He wasn't going anywhere.
Backlund beat up Bret. And yeah, after the match, Owen, if I remember correctly, he celebrated with Backlund, showing that he was just pulling his mom's leg. Like, you bitch. I got you, stupid whore.
It is, but again, Bret wasn't going anywhere.
That's true.
He was in.
And then we have WrestleMania 11 to look forward to. Main event is Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow. Diesel and Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart and Bob Backlund.
I remember the Lawrence Taylor thing, but...
Yeah, I've watched it. Oh, the Road Dogg. He's with Jeff Jarrett in this one. He fights Razor. So yeah, WrestleMania 11 looks okay, except for the main event.
There you go.
But first we have Fall Brawl 96. That's War Games for WCW. And this will be our second year visiting WCW, at least their pay-per-view year. Because remember, we started with Fall Brawl.
Year 2.
WCW and NWO will face off in a War Games match. Due to the tensions caused by the NWO's presence, a modification to the traditional match rules was made. Instead of both teams coming to ringside before the match, each side staged backstage, and the participants entered one at a time. To me, that sounds like everybody's getting an entrance.
It does kind of sound that way, yeah.
Some matches we might look forward to is Conan versus Juventud Guerrero. And we have Chris Benoit versus Chris Jericho.
Okay.
And the Giant versus Randy Savage.
Looking good.
Yeah. So we'll see. But that is our Wrestling Rewind.